The Marvels. This is currently on Disney Plus. Has audio description from Laura Post and the team at Deluxe. And it stars Brie Larson, Iman Vellamy, uh, Tiana Paris, Samuel L. Jackson. Um, yeah, it's probably about it. Anything else would be a little spoilery. And the rest of the family from Miss Marvel. I should say that they're all in here. If they were in the TV show Miss Marvel, they're probably in this film. I didn't go like character for character and be like, did this one make the cut? Is this one in? But it does seem like the entire Khan family is here. But maybe somebody's missing. I don't know. If you're that big of a nerd to go out and figure out, be like, where did this character go? Do it. But I just, no, I just didn't do that. And it features all three of these characters together. Tiana Paris obviously plays Monica Rambeau, who we last saw in WandaVision, a grown-up version of the little girl from Captain Marvel. So she had a kind of a big impact on WandaVision. And obviously Brie Larson's been around. She had her own film, and she was in, she helped to fight Thanos. And if you don't know who Miss Marvel is and you're just not watching Disney Plus series, I don't know. It was an entire series called Miss Marvel. So now they're together in a film, and critics have hated it. And audiences ignored it. It bombed at the box office. Pretty much every YouTuber out there is saying that comic book films have failed and things are over. And I don't know. You know what? You know what's true for me about comic book films is that some of these films have not been as good as the original. I agree. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is not as good as the first film. It's a step down. I did not hate Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I did not think it was like where films go to die. Ant-Man Quantumania, also easily the worst of the three, but also a film that I found enjoyment in. There were things about that film that I liked. Is it the worst of three? Sure. Blue Beetle, I struggled to get into that. I didn't fully grasp Blue Beetle. I liked The Flash more than a lot of people did. And I was one of those people who was like, I don't think we should continue to let Ezra Miller play The Flash. With all of the allegations being thrown around, I was really surprised that Warner Brothers stood by him. He seemed like the kind of person, they rushed to edit Kevin Spacey out of all the money in the world, like a month before it was supposed to be released in theaters. They reshot with Christopher Plummer. So it's kind of amazing that happened. But with this, they kept him, and I ended up liking The Flash. I thought it was a good film. I enjoyed it. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a top 10 film for me. I've been putting it in a lot of my lists. If you've been watching my best of 2023 list, it's been popping up pretty much everywhere it can pop up so far. So yeah, I don't think that this is a bad year for film. Of course, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That's another great example of another great superhero movie. And you could even extend that beyond to something like, arguably, I would say the Ninja Turtles are superheroes. Thought their film was pretty dope. So I think the doom and gloom is a little bit manufactured by people who have been wanting to see this genre suffer for a while. And I've maybe you guys don't like these films. I don't know. I liked Thor: Love and Thunder. It is worse than Thor: Ragnarok. We are trending downward, but we're not making just total ass films. I did not like The Eternals at all. I think for me, that's the worst Marvel film I've seen. I do believe that is my least favorite Marvel film. I thought that film was a mess. So I am willing to call it out when I see it, but this is not that. I thought this one was a blast. Iman Vellani, especially as Kamala Khan, is just delightful. The whole film should be her. I mean, she just the film doesn't even fully know what to do with her family and just kind of sticks them with Nick Fury, and they're cute. They're sort of like as an entity, a little like how Blue Beetle's family was used, sort of like as a cohesive unit, as an entity. Um, and they don't really all necessarily have their own personalities or whatever. You could also kind of say there feels a little bit like Greek Wedding, like Nia Vardalos is being followed around by her family. It's a little bit like that too. But yeah, they kept them, and they're in the film. They're in quite a bit of the film actually, and they kind of assist in everything. So they don't just cameo for fun. This film has some really neat ideas. The fact that the three of these Marvels are linked together and that they teleport. Just first of all, my God, to the audio description team for making that even remote sense of that. I mean, I was trying to follow these action sequences as a blind film critic, just sitting here going, what the fuck? Just what is going on here? Like, they're teleporting people around. And the audio description does a really good job of following that. And I also have to say, gold star on audio description, because I have been very, very big on something called size relativity. I'm tired of people taking things that have no basis in reality and just calling them like large, gargantuan, big, giant, how big, how giant. And honestly, I started this whole thought process when I was rewatching Doctor Strange before Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and their description of Dormammu, I was like, that does not really tell you how much bigger Dormammu is than Doctor Strange, which is really considerably larger than Doctor Strange. Yeah, I felt like there was no, like, you could take away any interpretation of that. Like, he could be the size of the Hulk or whatever, but it didn't really do much in that regard. So yeah, and I've brought it up in other films. Here, there's a device, like a gray tube that's pulled out at the beginning of the film, and it is directly referred to as being about the size of a human. So we know it's generally about, but 6 feet, give or take, right? That gives you an idea of, and I know somebody out there is going to be like, well, it didn't say adult human. Could be a baby. Let's just, if it wanted to say baby, it probably would say baby. Let's not get too squabbly here. Human, human, like average human being in the world, not baby. So yeah, size relativity, huge points. Huge points for the teleportation, which happens a lot. Like, a lot in this film. I thought it was a cool trick. It's a cool idea to come up with, that these three people are so linked for one reason or another that when they activate their powers, they actually accidentally teleport. So you may be fighting somebody and then suddenly you're fighting somebody else, and you gotta jump and pick up, just right where you left off. And for somebody like Kamala Khan, who is very not as trained combat wise, to see her used in that fashion, I thought was really interesting. Obviously, Brie Larson is Captain Marvel. She can kick anybody's ass. It doesn't matter who's in front of her. And we've seen Monica Rambeau has come along, and she seems to be, Nick Fury is using her a lot. So obviously she can take care of herself, but not they didn't even know Miss Marvel existed until this happened. So it's humorous. It's funny. I really loved the singing planet. I thought that was inventive and creative. Um, so yeah, the cats are used in this film in glorious ways. Just I thought that was hilarious. It felt very Taika to me, if I'm being honest. I'll give you that. It felt very like that's something Taika Waititi would do. Uh, very influenced by choices he would make, like those fucking goats in, in Thor. Um, but yeah, it's when you see Goose, Goose has got Goose is being used in this. Goose gets to do some stuff, and I enjoyed Goose and things like Goose, I should say. Without I try not to spoil too much. Anyway, there's a whole scene with that, and it was one of the best scenes. And they played. I don't know if people know this or picked up on it because I didn't hear it in any other review, and nobody else gave it props. But in the scene, probably with the most cats in it, they used memory from cats playing in the background, which I thought was such a nice reference for anybody who got it. And I got it. And that's why I'm sitting here at this film and I'm like, why did everyone hate this damn thing? You know what? I'll tell you what the problem is. Its villain sucks. And this has been a problem for a lot of Marvel and DC films, is that they underdevelop their villain. Their villain is, they don't cast the right actor. I have no idea who this chick is playing Doorstop or whatever. I don't know what her name is. It's just some dumb, some useless name. She feels like a villain that they just like pulled out of a hat. And they were like, who's been a Marvel villain ever in comic books? Oh, this chick. All right, well, congratulations, you get to be the villain here. It just, I don't know. They've done better jobs with the villains before. And films can make it or break it based on villains. It doesn't really matter how good the setup is or how good your main actors are or casting. Venom, the first film, not bad. It's not a terrible film. It's somewhat entertaining. It probably should have gone for an R rating. Tom Hardy makes an interesting Venom. Who the fuck is the villain in that? Like, I love Riz Ahmed, but that is a terrible villain. He plays an awful villain in that film. That is one of the most forgettable villains in cinematic history. And I know people had a problem with the High Executioner, but luckily with the High Executioner, even though his backstory, he wasn't given like a ton of backstory, he wasn't given like a ton of showy dialogue, he was nasty as a villain. He felt very sort of like, oh my god. And it's not like so much you'll remember the High Executioner as a thing, but for the things he was doing. And that's what makes Guardians of Volume 3 even more memorable, is that. But these films, yeah, live and die. It's one of the reasons Miss Marvel is actually, I want to say, my least favorite Disney Plus MCU series. I thought the villain was terrible. I loved Iman. I think she's an excellent addition to the show. They gave her and just ass for villain. Just terrible villains in that film. Just really underdeveloped. They weren't interesting at all. And that's the problem with these films, is you gotta look at your best films and look at the villains that you've created. I just watched an episode of What If, where they tried to bring Cate Blanchett's Hela and make an entire plot around her, and I was like, at least she's somewhat memorable, but this isn't, I don't really care about this. This is, you're overstretching a little bit. What If. I wasn't really ever, I've never what if this before in my life. I've never, what if I saw Cate Blanchett again from Thor Ragnarok? What if that happened? Never felt the need to do that in my life. But at least she was a great villain in Thor Ragnarok. She was a badass. And if you look at the movies that you like in the Marvel Cinematic or even in the DC Cinematic Universes, I bet they have good villains. I bet they're not void of good villains. And good villain can be either tough to fight or just entertaining, just interesting. We shit a lot on Batman and Robin, but you know what? Uma Thurman and Arnold Schwarzenegger are endlessly entertaining and campy. And that's one of the reasons why so many people go back and watch that film nowadays, is because it's entertaining and campy. There are films that the MCU and DCU have released that are just boring because the villains are and then the film is uninspired. This film, wait, really entertaining, a lot of great ideas, awful villain, terrible villain, pointless villain. Just she wants to take revenge on Marvel. And there's something about she keeps opening up portals. She has one of the bangles. I think she's trying to steal the sun. I don't know. And it's not really ever clear her whole thing. She just kind of appears out of nowhere. She's not really a villain that's been built up or like has a strong past. Arguably, at least Taika tried to do something with Christian Bale in Thor: Love and Thunder by showing us his backstory and committing to it and explaining why he is the way he is. Here, I didn't even get that. Here, I was just like, oh, there's a person. She's not happy. Oh, she must be the villain. Cool. So yeah, but the rest of the film I enjoyed. It just has a shitty villain. We gotta get past that. Marvel, DC, you need better villains. Your heroes are fine. Most of your films are fine. But what people are not picking up on are these just terrible, underdeveloped villains. You can create a villain out of thin air and make them interesting, you know, and it doesn't even matter. Screw your comic books. Just ask somebody to come up with conceptually a good villain and what that villain would be good for the story that you need to create, and plug them in. Doesn't even have to be a villain related to the actual hero or villain in the story, but it has to be good. It can't be, you can't keep putting these, no one is going to remember her. I already forgot her name. I just saw this movie and I have no idea what her name is. None. No idea. Like, I'm like, doorbell? Dorval? Derval? I have no, it starts with a D. That's as far as I got. But yeah, so I think everybody should watch this. Iman Vellani is the biggest reason to watch it, followed like just right below her, the other two. Brie Larson and Tiana Paris are both really good as well. But Iman is just, she gives you so much hope for the future of like young Avengers, which is something that they may or may not tease in this film. There's also a mid-credit sequence that is absolute fire. And will make you wet your pants with excitement. If you haven't already seen it and wet your pants with excitement. If you've been waiting till now, then I don't know how you've avoided spoilers, but go watch this and enjoy wet pants. So I'm actually pretty positive on this. I'm surprised. It's not great though. It's not my favorite comic book film of the year. And yeah, it does need a much better villain. But it had a lot of ideas and concepts and stuff that were working for it, and I was here for it. So, funny thing is, I mean, I really do think my only complaint is that the villain sucks. I think that's it. I think if you have just plugged in a villain or invested in her better, fleshed her out more, maybe cast, I'm sorry, but I don't know who she is. Maybe she's a great actress. Maybe she did something indie. I don't know who she is. Cast somebody who is gonna chew the scenery. Tom Hiddleston as Loki made that shit memorable as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the pinnacle of how to do that. Josh Brolin as Thanos, just, great performance. This, I don't even know. She's probably never gonna work again. I have no idea who she is or what she's gonna do with her life, but damn. Um, it feels like budget saving, and that's not the place to save on budget. Is on your villain. That is the place to spend, spend. Get the best person you can in there, and go for it. Find someone, Daniel Day Lewis, you know, anybody who can just act the fuck out of a villain and put them in that role, and then just name them, give them a name, and set them free, and they will do a great job. But that's not what this is. So, due to a lack of a serious villain, even though this film has exceptional audio description and really interesting heroes and a lot of interesting thoughts, sadly, The Marvels is getting a B. And it's really disappointing because, like, I like the rest of the film here. I would say there's a very thin thread here as to why Nick Fury is in the film, except for Nick Fury is in every film, so I can't really say that because he just pops up all the time. Didn't really feel like they took a lot of thought into what's happening in Secret Invasion before they put him into this, because it doesn't really make any sense. But if you go from if you're trying to follow logistically from Secret Invasion to this, his presence here seems to not acknowledge anything that happened in Secret Invasion. But anyway, it is what it is. So I know, yeah, the Marvels. Watch it. Give it a try. It does have a shitty villain. I'm not gonna argue that. Internet wins on that argument alone. But I thought the rest of the film was entertaining. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Also, audio description again, straight fire. The deluxe lore post. Thank you so much. And I do have a website, macmovieguy.com. You can follow me on X or Instagram at macmovieguy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know who has what has audio description, where you can watch it, and you can go to the ADNA.org and you can look up Laura Post and you can see her. I can't possibly be her entire resume, but it's a lot. She has a lot of stuff. Laura Post is omnipotent. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and I'll watch something else and see you guys on the other side.